Hey guys, Sean Archer here. I am crawling through the woods here in Florida. We just recently had a hurricane and I am going to check out my kids' tree fort back in the woods here. The water levels are extremely high. The lakes are incredibly high. And we may get another hurricane yet, so flooding may be an issue, but I came back here to look at my kids' fort back in the woods here. As you can see, we got water everywhere. My kids like to play in a paper tree back here, and I have a feeling it's underwater. And yeah, as you can see, it is. I don't know if you can see that back there, but that big tree. They have rope swings and all kind of fun doohickeys on. This reminds me of my time growing up in Africa. I was born in 1986 in the country of Gabon, Africa. Most of you have probably never heard of the country of Gabon. Gabon is a small country in Central Africa. It's about the size of Colorado. And population 2.5 million, mostly jungle. And my parents arrived there in 1987. I was born shortly after. They did language study in Albertville, France. Most of Africa is French speaking. And yeah, I was born there. The equator cuts the country right in half. It is the most hot and humid country you will ever go to. You need a snorkel just to breathe there. But anyways, I was born on a small island, an island about the size, I think it was about 7 kilometers by 3 kilometers wide. Little oil port city there. In fact, the American company Amoco back in the day used to be there, as well as Elf and Shell and some other oil companies were based out of there. But my parents worked with a mission organization called the Christian Missionary Alliance, and my dad would take a boat from the island and he would boat to the mainland of the country and go up and down the rivers and lagoons, and he would find little villages. He would plant churches there. He would train the pastors and leaders and share the gospel. And so as a young kid, I remember being on the little boat with him, and we crossed the ocean there and get onto the mainland. And just as a little guy growing up in the jungles on the water, reminded me a little bit of Florida, at least the tropical aspect of it. Lots of wildlife and fish. That boat was constantly sinking. It was a terrible boat. But yeah, I spent the first 4 years of my life there. And we would do 4 years and we'd come back to the States for a year. I remember, I guess I was 4 years old when I came back, almost 5. But I remember my first winter in America up in Pennsylvania. Which is where we furloughed. It's where my dad's family is from. And I remember the first snow. I have vague memories, but that was my first time in America. Even though I'm an American, my parents are American, that was my first time being in the States. But I attended, growing up, a little French preschool there on the island of Port-Gentil. I was the first white kid ever born in the hospital. Hospital was called L'Hôpital Polygamba. And when I was born, they ran off with me, actually. My mom was not happy about that, but I eventually made my way back. And growing up on an island, my parents didn't have to worry about me too much. I was one of the only little American white boys running around, so if I ran off, somebody would bring me back. Everybody knew who we were. When I was 6 years old, I had to go to school in English for the first time, so I was sent to boarding school in the interior of the country, about 15 hours away by vehicle. Keep in mind the roads, all dirt roads. It would take all day to drive from one side of the country to the other, sun up to sundown. Rough roads. All the missionaries drove Toyota Land Cruisers and Nissan Patrols and any vehicle that would survive those roads. So when I was 6 years old in first grade, along with other kids like myself, little missionary kids, went to this boarding school way back in the jungle at a mission hospital, a famous mission hospital called Bongalo Alliance Hospital, where there was a little school. And that was some of the best times of my life. Go to school, we had 2 classrooms, grades 1 through 3 and grades 4 through 6. And I spent those years there with my friends. They're some of my best friends today, kids I went to boarding school with in first grade and graduated through high school. We did all kind of stuff. After school, we would run down the hill, come back to the dorm there. It was about 12, anywhere between 12 to 15 kids. And we'd get our BB guns, we'd go out in the woods and just terrorize all kind of things. And we had a great time. Some of the best memories of my life. God definitely protected us. There were lots of things that could have gone wrong, and definitely had some close calls. One of my favorite activities was on Friday nights. Our dorm parent would take us hunting out on the plateaus about 20 to 30 minutes away. We'd all pile in the Land Cruisers up on the roof rack, and all night long we would spotlight for animals, and we would have a great time. We'd find buffalo, we'd find elephant, anything you can imagine, anything that comes to your head. Thinking about African wildlife, we'd find, and we'd go hunting. We'd bring some of the locals with us, and awesome times. Awesome times. And I think of my kids being here in America, totally different lifestyle. Obviously taking them hunting in Africa versus doing stuff here near Orlando, Florida is a different lifestyle. And being a parent and the challenges with your kids here in America, with the technology and the different things that the kids want to get into, it's definitely a battle. And I think back on my years, it was pre-internet, pre-cell phone, pre-internet, and none of that reached Africa at any pace anyway. So we were living back in the Stone Age, even when those things came about here in America. And I miss those time periods. I wish I could go back to that for my children, because they will never know a world without internet, without a mobile phone like I'm talking to you right now. It's amazing to see how fast technology has taken off. The benefits are incredible, but the downsides are also incredible. Let's see if I can turn this around. Back here in the Spanish moss. Is that tree back there? We call it the paper tree. I'm not exactly sure what it is, but get your kids outside. You won't regret it. If you don't have kids, get yourself outside. Get away from the Wi-Fi, get away from the EMF radiation. Clear your head. Connect with God, connect with nature. And just get out and breathe the fresh air as much as you can. If you don't know where Gabon is, find a map, look it up. Gabon, Gabon. It's an incredible country. I still keep up with my African friends that I grew up with. In fact, we just had a four-way, my brother and I and my two African friends just had a four-way conversation on WhatsApp, and it was kind of surreal doing that. They're in a different continent, and just seeing how we've all grown up, and yet we haven't. We're still the same kids as we were then, and we're just older, a little wiser, a lot more miles under our feet. Keep those friendships alive that you have. A lot of people are lazy. A lot of my friends, I have to put in the effort to keep those friendships going. People get busy, but you won't regret it. Take the time to connect with somebody. Take the time. We have no excuse nowadays with the kind of media we have, and we take it with us in our pockets every day. So that is my encouragement for you today as I crawl through the underbrush. Sean Archer, signing out.